Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another amazing chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today we've got another lovely soul, but this time we have a native from Japan on today. Her name is Julliena Okah. Julliena was born in Japan, a graduate scholar of German philosophy, is recognized as a world-class solo violin virtuoso. She was a scholarship student in Vienna and has performed with the Vienna Radio Orchestra in Austria and also with the MGM Orchestra in Las Vegas, and has played for Dean Martin and many others. Through Liberace's initiation, she became a headliner with her own unique solo violin show and has performed internationally on cruise ships, in theaters, and on numerous TV shows for over 20 years. Julliena is also a globally recognized painter who studied art in France. She has had numerous art exhibitions, including 10 one-woman shows. Articles describing her art and music were featured in the Miami Herald, LA Register, and many other publications. She studied various Indian creeds while living in India and devoted herself to Buddhism for the next 6 years. She has been studying Christianity in America for over 20 years. In Japan as a child, Julliena lived through 2 near-death experiences, OBs, as well as contact with star people. She is the author of the book, One Life, Many Worlds, My Journeys Through the Heavens and Hells of Extraterrestrial Worlds, which Okah recalls her non-human reincarnation through contacts with other beings, remembering her existence when she lived on a super advanced, amazingly beautiful, golden world. This book describes how to exceed the human realm to a better life and a higher stage of existence. It is an odyssey motivated by fantastic and unimaginable events that are still affecting her today. She has also written 3 books titled God's Majesty in Color and Word. In each volume are a collection of her paintings with Bible verses. She became a public speaker, appearing at UFO organizations such as MUFON and near-death study organizations such as the International Association for Near-Death Studies. Ms. Okah traveled over 100 countries and has lived in 14 of them. She resided in New York City and Nice, France for over 20 years before moving to Southern California. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jan. I'm so happy to be with you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's my pleasure, ma'am. So Julliena, when did your experiences start?
Oh, before I say, let me say this. I was born and grew up in Japan, and my music and art are my business, which does not require much English speaking ability. And I also lived in German and French speaking countries. So my English is not too good. And through computer might be difficult to hear, but I hope you understand me. Okay, so now my first alien encounter happened at the age of 6 outside of Tokyo, Japan. I did not meet small grades. It was quite different, and it continued next 4 years. But first, because it's very difficult to understand, it's very complicated. So let me talk first my UFO encounters that started after I left Japan. My first UFO encounter happened in Las Vegas, 1976. I flew from Australia. Because of the time difference, I woke up 3 o'clock in the morning. Then I went to poolside in the motel, then lay down and looked at the night sky. Shortly, about 20 white light appeared and went one side to the other side. And so this is another thing. And the light went one side to other side, repeated 3 times, then disappeared, all one in a second. I thought those lights were belonged to Las Vegas, and I thought it was nice to see such light in the night sky. And I never thought those were UFO because the shape I knew was quite different. So next day, I asked my friend what those lights were, and nobody knew what I was talking about. And I lived in Las Vegas next 3 years, but I never seen. And many years later, I found out these lights were UFO. So I started to work in Las Vegas, and I went to Hollywood and then San Francisco. 6 months later, when my visa was expiring, and my pianist in Hungarian restaurant, he happened to be a director of a musician union, and he asked the immigration office to grant me the permanent working visa. And because I studied gypsy violin, Hungarian gypsy violin, when I lived in Vienna, and not many people can play Hungarian gypsy music in America, and the Hungarian restaurant need the musician. Then also I was first Japanese to receive the scholarship in Vienna, and I worked with the Vienna Radio Orchestra. So I received the permanent visa and social security, so I could start to work. Then next year, I went to Hawaii. There I had next encounter. I was in Hilton Lagoon apartment, my friend's house. It is next to the Hilton Hotel on Waikiki Beach. And her place was over 20th floor, facing to the ocean. So that means I don't come this place so often at all. That means alien knew I would be in this place because this did not happen in my apartment because my apartment was surrounded by high-rise buildings. So 2 o'clock in the morning, she went to sleep, but we are talking on the balcony. And then I stayed on the balcony and enjoying the quiet night and looking at the full moon. Suddenly, I saw UFO, their vehicle. And I couldn't believe. I scratched my eyes, I blinked, but vehicles are still there. At that time, without consciousness, I would lean onto the edge of the balcony, and my both hands are up in the air, and I was screaming in my heart, "Take me with you." Then I heard, "Not yet. We are watching you." I have been hearing these words since I was a child. I was very disappointed. Then I thought, at least I need a witness for this amazing sight. So I called her. And when she came to the living room, I looked at her in 1 second as pointing my finger to the sky. Then when I looked back to the sky, vehicle was gone, but the light around the vehicle was still there. She was stunned, and we watched about for 5 minutes, and gradually light faded and went back to the normal night sky. When the vehicle was gone, light should not be there. Now I realized aliens has different kind of light. But she was so, because for her, there is no doubt it was UFO because the shape of the light was unmistakably UFO. So after that, I received the strolling violinist job in a Harekoa Hotel next to the Hilton Hotel, right in this area. And that was, so this is the place I worked. And 2 years, I had amazing time. I loved Hawaii, and I was happy as I could be, but just having happy life was not my purpose. I needed to see the world that was directed by the extraterrestrials. So that I left Hawaii and worked in Guam and Saipan. This is the Guam newspaper wrote, my first love is gypsy music. And I worked in Sheraton Hotel in Hong Kong. Then I decided to go to Canada. On my way, I stopped by again in Hawaii, Waikiki, and I worked at Pacific Beach Hotel. This is the advertisement they did, Waikiki Beach Hotel. Then I went to Vancouver, Canada. There I had another sighting. This was something unexplainable experience. Before the sighting, 2 weeks before, I started to have some incident science could not explain. So I told my friend, he was my pianist, and at the daytime he was a science teacher, and we both experienced. I cannot tell now this one because it's very complicated, and I never talked because people think I was crazy. But I had a witness, and this experience can prove my childhood experience. So that's why I elaborated in my book. Then after 2 weeks, I had sighting. This is the one. And my friend, pianist, and I were on the beach, and suddenly it was midnight on my way back to the home from work. Suddenly we saw white light around us. So we looked up. Then we saw the cigar type of very bright light. We looked at in silence about 10 seconds. Then my friend George screamed, UFO. At that moment, this vehicle flew up. Then we saw far away up in the air, we saw another cigar type of light. And this light, this UFO crashed. Then we saw big spark. We thought they are broken, but few seconds later, they joined together and they became double bigger size. Then it stayed about few seconds, then flew away. In a few seconds, we couldn't see anymore. From the beginning to until the end, less than 20 seconds. We both saw the same thing. If airplane flew from here to there, it takes about 10 minutes, but it flew in 1 or 2 seconds and crashed with tremendous speed, but did not break, and they joined together. Later, George told me he never believed the existence of a UFO, but the word he said was UFO. I could not talk because I knew my friend aliens are there. Before, George never believed beyond science, but now he has no choice but to believe UFOs exist And we are not the only intelligent being in the universe. There are many much advanced beings somewhere there. And they come to Earth and they do their work. After they finished, they would leave. So he realized this. He was 50 years old, and the turning point of his life. After this, I went to Las Vegas. Then I got the job, MGM Orchestra, and worked in MGM Grand Hotel. There I started with Dean Martin, and I worked with Bob Hope, Julio Iglesias, all big stars. Then finally, Liberace heard me play, and he said I should make on my show and to become a headliner. Since then, my musical career changed. So it was a wonderful 2 years with the MGM Orchestra, but musician union started. And we all lost our work. At that time, I realized I lost all my property, all my money, because I signed the power of attorney when I did not understand English. The first year I came to Las Vegas. The person I met in a Buddhism association, he was a real estate broker. And he told me to invest because I started to make a good money. So he told me to invest my money to the real estate. It was a great investment, but while I was traveling and I was concentrated to my business, he stole everything. When a lawyer tried to sue him, he died. So, that was the most difficult time because I became a homeless. At that time, next sighting happened. It was a very, very hot day in May. My friend invited me to go to the Mount Charleston, about 20 miles from Las Vegas. So I was sobbing. And soon I started to feel very strange energy above me. I lifted up my head and I saw huge metallic object is in front of me. Then I realized I was looking at the bottom part of UFO. He did not recognize, he did not notice because he was looking at the front and he was concentrated to comfort me. But when I did not answer his question, he looked at me and he looked at what I was looking at. Then he screamed, UFO. So this is, as soon as when he said UFO, as same as happened in Canada, UFO flew to the upward, then stopped about 10 seconds. That's the time we saw the top part of their vehicle. Then slowly went down into the forest. Then we saw the side view with windows. Then we could not see anymore, so we went to the forest, but it was not the forest, it was the government property. And we drove around, but a huge property and no one there, and the gates were chained. So we knew UFO was there, but we could not go. Since then, our conversation changed to UFO, to the UFO. And my intense sadness and devastation eased a little bit. Then I decided to go to Miami to get the cruise ship work. Because Liberace told me, first I must make my show and then go work on the cruise ship until he introduced me. So though I have not made my show yet, I thought this was the only way I could survive. If I could work as a strolling violinist or anything. I don't have to have my apartment. I did not have to have my car, and the food was provided. So I took a chance. But unfortunately, I could not get cruise ship work for a year. It was the most difficult time of my life. If I had that property, I would be a millionaire now. But I experienced a very sad part of my life. But 1 year later, I passed cruise because I made my show. This is my show, and then I just wearing Japanese kimono and take off, do the country music, drifting music, all kind of things. Then I started to work in Norwegian cruise line and Royal Caribbean. This is Royal Caribbean. This is my show. So Royal Caribbean, I worked for 23 years. So cruise ship knew I was homeless. So they kept me on the ship. So I was saved. And 2 years later, I left Miami and I went to New York City, which is, I was still poor because I started my life from the scratch. But Extraterrestrial told me to go to New York. Otherwise, I could never even thought doing this. And everybody against it to go to New York and how difficult it is. But I followed alien's voice. Then it was very difficult, but finally I got the apartment on Broadway and next to the Empire State Building, and the 20th floor overlooking Broadway. And that place became my office and residence for 24 years. And I became a New Yorker, and I loved New York. And then, until now, I was only cruising Caribbean cruise line and the only Caribbean islands. But since I came to New York, the agent sent me to all over the world. I did Canada, Alaskan cruise, Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, and Asia. It was a wonderful few years. And I covered half of the earth. But I thought I need to see the other side of the earth because that was alien's direction. So I made a contact to get that. Then I got the Hunter Theater in Germany. So this is my show. And in Germany, Hamburg, Germany. Then I worked in September. My mother came to see me, and in October we decided to take a vacation by train without any plan. Then end of October, it's getting cold, so we went to south. We arrived to Nice, France. Nice is located between the Mediterranean and the Alps, and Monte Carlo, between the Monte Carlo and the Cannes, the beautiful artistic city with warm weather. It was just like a summer, and the ocean was emerald blue. So we decided to spend in here for 3 days. That was our last vacation, last day of my vacation. On the third day, I told my mother to not close the window because aliens are coming to see me. I never said something like this. That's the only night I said. When I was walking that evening, when I was walking on the beach, when we are walking on the beach, I saw the sunset and I received the message they would come to see me. So we went to bed midnight. 3 hours later, we woke up because tremendous light, like 10 times brighter than daytime. We woke up and she covered her head with a blanket, but light did not bother me. Then I looked at the outside. Then I saw 3 vehicles shooting the laser beam at me.
Wow.
And my mother is in here, and me, and this was 3 o'clock in the morning, and we communicated for 15 minutes. Then she got up and tried to close the window and the shutter. I was screaming in my heart, but I could not talk. There was no voice. I could not move. But for her, she was not affected by the light, and she could not take the brightness. So she was covering, but she could walk, and she closed the window and the shutter, everything. Then again, she covered her head with a blanket because the light was still in the room. When she closed, it should be dark. Now, this was the second time I witnessed aliens have different light from us. Then, about 5 minutes later, the room got dark. Next day, I was not a good mood, and I asked mother why she closed. I said, do not close. And she said, what happened last night was so much light in this room, and she saw something in the sky, and they are shooting the light in here. I was terrified, so I closed. So I told her, I told you, aliens are coming to see me. We are communicating. And she said, what? And she just stood. She did not have any words after that. Of course, she knows my alien encounter because I have been telling her since I was a child. But somehow she did not believe me. But finally, after so many years, she understood my relationship with them. So next day, our vacation, she went to Japan. And I supposed to go to New York and 3 days in New York, then go to Caribbean cruise. But I changed my ticket and stayed that 3 days in Nice because aliens told me to live in Nice. So I thought I'm going to get some information about the apartment situation. So then when I have time, I come back and look for apartment. But my first real estate agent did not agree for me to rent the apartment. And he took me to the condominium in front of the beach, right in the same place. I received a message they are coming. And Center Nice, best location, and a beautiful condominium with a white marble floor. Oh, I was shocked. I loved it. But who could ever think to buy the condominium? The country, I never I don't know. I've never been in Nice. This is my first time I visited. I could not even speak French. But next day, I was allowed to buy. Those days, French government does not allow to buy the real estates for the foreign people unless they have their business or relative. I did not have anything. Normally, I could never purchase such a thing, but if extraterrestrial involved, impossible things become possible. I had experienced many, many times, and this was one of them. And in 3 days, I finished all the necessary work. Then I went New York. Then I went to Caribbean cruise. This condominium became my summer house for next 23 years. And I commuted between America and Europe twice a year. I started to work English cruise ships in England. One of them is a princess. So this is Princess Showtime. This is me. So then I did Mediterranean, Scandinavian, African, or places. I truly enjoyed it to cover the other side of the earth until French ship took me to India. Then in Bombay, I saw the poverty that was beyond our imagination. This French ship was for the millionaires. They spend over $1,000 a day. There is 8 courses of dinner, included fine wines, cocktail, everything. I thought about destiny, same human being, what made this kind of difference? So until that time, I enjoyed my luxurious life because headliner, we could eat with the passenger, we live passenger's cabin. So I enjoyed it, but since then, I could not enjoy anymore. Then I went to, after contract, I went back to Nice. There I had another sighting. It was November, sunset time. It was cold, so no one except my friend and I on the beach. And my friend left before sunset. But sunset is my favorite time on the beach, so I stayed. The sky turned to the rosy pink, just like a dream. But suddenly, cotton clouds started to form, then spread all over the sky. Normally, we do not see this kind of clouds in the late autumn. So I was wondering what was going on. Then I felt strange vibration above me. I looked up. Then I saw big cotton clouds above me. It was too close as a cloud. So I gazed. Then I was looking at the bottom part of their vehicle. Not only that, I saw the small discs coming down from the mother's ship. I jumped up and they came right in front of my eyes, so I could see the shape. So this is what happened. So I was here looking at like this. Then I tried to catch them, catch the discs. They moved so fast from one place to the other in no time. Finally, I thought I caught them, but they disappeared right in front of my eyes. Then I saw, because I was jumping, trying to catch them about 10 minutes. Then all of them I don't see. Then some of them went back to the mother's ship. I witnessed this. Actually, this is exactly same thing happened when I was a child, 6 years old. That day, they took me to their vehicle. There I had a face-to-face encounter. But on this day, they did not take me. I screamed with all my heart, take me with you, do not leave me. And I heard again the same words, not yet. We are looking at, watching you. When I had a first alien encounter, that changed my life completely. This day also changed my life because they wanted me to change my life. That's why they came. I have been living secular life since I came to America, but that changed. I was no longer interested. Then my life turned to the spiritual path. And in 2 years, I was still working on the cruise ships, but my mind was the first encounter I had with aliens, what they directed me, my path. So 2 years later, I could not stay anymore as an entertainer. So I took off for 1 year and went to India for the pilgrimage. And I visited the Buddha's holy places and also lived in Himalaya for 1 year. It was the most life-changing trip I ever had, but most difficult travel I ever had because I was almost died about 5 times. Then, but even though like this, I thought I should not continue entertainment life anymore. And I thought I'm gonna live in rest of my life in India. But Yogi told me that was not my destiny. My destiny was use my artistic talent to work in the Western world. So that I came back. Yeah, when I came back 1995, cruise ships started to bloom and mega ships started to build one after the other. And it was wonderful to perform big stage with 1,000-seat theater. And they gave me the room with the balcony, was wonderful, but norovirus, stomach flu started on the cruise ships. And passengers started to sue the cruise lines and they canceled all kinds of things that happened. For them, it's only one cruise, but for us, it's living on a cruise ship was a terrible, painful thing. So many people quit working on cruise ships, and I wanted to quit, but I do have New York apartment and condominium in France to maintain. I need a big salary, so I could not quit. So that then I don't know what to do. That time, my friend, Peruvian friend, told me to go to Peru. And many people had a question for their lives. They get the answer in Peru. So I went. It was February for the summer. As soon as I arrived in Lima, capital city of Peru, I was very tired and I wanted to rest in a quiet place near the ocean. So I asked, is there any place I can rest? And someone I met in a restaurant, he said, go to Chilca. There is a miracle ponds. It heals body. So it sounded perfect. So I went right away, but the bus driver said Chilka was not the foreign tourist destination and made sure I was going to the right place. Chilka is a tiny, poor village. But as soon as I got off the bus, I felt I was drawn to this village. Then I jumped into the ponds. The water contains heavy salt. Body does not stink. So I was floating comfortably. And someone asked me why I came to Chilka. So I said I was tired, I need to rest. And he said, you came to the right place. And he asked me if I knew Chilka was a UFO base. Because of UFOs, the water contained the miraculous power to cure the body. And also many women could not be pregnant. They got twins. So then he showed me, this is the Chilka, the ponds, and the mother left through alien space ship. So then he told me in this pyramid here, behind of this pyramid here, and there the UFO land in there. And he told me UFO bases under the ocean in Chilka. So when I was having a dinner, we and the person next to me, we started to talk, and I asked the UFO story I heard, and he started to talk his experience. He was local people, and he was taken from Chilka, and 2 days later, he was returned in another village. And he was writing his book. And he was a retired policeman. So before I go to sleep, I told the hotel owner to let me know if UFO came. That was my first night in Peru. 15 minutes before 5 o'clock, the wife of owner banging my door, and they yelled, UFO, UFO. And we saw the vehicle fly away. After that, I slept and I went to late breakfast. And I saw many people came to me and talked to me because UFO sighting was a big thing in the village. And every morning, owner got up 4:30 in the morning to prepare the breakfast for the guests. And when he went outside, UFO was hovering in front of my window. And he went inside to get his wife. When both came out, UFO was about to leave. So both saw it and watched about 10 minutes. Then she came to the second floor to woke me up. So when she came, because I was the second floor, the highest in the hotel, and all the room was facing to the ponds. But I took the room, I separated the facing to the other direction. So I took that room because maybe it was cleaner. So, but this was the direction UFO leaves, where after came out from the ocean to leave that direction. If I took the other room facing to the ponds, I could never see this. So because of the location, timing, people thought I was attracted to the UFO. Then after breakfast, I was climbing to the hill, and people saw me walking, and they told me I cannot go alone. And children, about 5, 6 children accompanied me. So then I could go. And I saw the flat land. So that is a place, UFO land. I was wondering who made this, must be aliens. After that, I went to the beach. about 10 minutes walk, but there was no road, just bushes. Beach was wonderful, and white sandy beach and blue pure ocean, but there was nothing. Only one family member was cooking the seafood for the people working around this area. Food, that was the restaurant. Food was excellent. So I thought I'm going to stay. I love Chiruka very much, and so I stayed quite a while. And every day I came to swim, but I hardly see any person. But they said nighttime tourists, the Peruvian tourists, come to see the UFOs. So one night I came. I was there was one couple and one family member were there on that night. I was sitting between them. Midnight, a policeman came, and I was the only person did not allow to stay there. So I asked why, and he said, if group of people, because the alien takes people away sometimes, but definitely they always bring us back, they bring them back. And if the group of people, then they know who was taken. But if a single person, no one knows who was taken. That's why they are not allowed to stay in a single. So then when I went to I was climbing a hill, I could not go alone, but with children, that was fine. So then I thought about it. If alien abduction was dangerous, no one could stay. But as long as they knew who was taken, seemed like it was okay. So maybe in the Chiruka, this village, aliens adoption was not that, as long as they knew who was taken, that okay. So it was a kind of strange, I felt. Then another day I was walking on the beach, and 20 minutes later, I came to another town, beautiful condominiums, restaurant, shops, wealthy area. I was surprised the difference between. So I asked people in Chiruka, why here is so primitive? And because Chiruka is a very primitive, it's a very poor place. So, but people said they want to keep as is. Otherwise, aliens won't come anymore. Normally, we want to have a nice, modern life, but these people, they are adjusting their lives to the extraterrestrials because they are benefited by them. So it was a very different story.
Yeah, did you you talked about bathing in the ponds. Did you feel better after that?
Yes, because there is not only this is the biggest pond, there is a many small ponds, and also on the way to the beach, another pond that people get twins. Those twins bathing, or it's written that way, what kind of a sickness can heal. Yes, it was a great feeling. And many people put in the mud, and many people take the water on to the home. It was a great feeling. Maybe many people should go over there. It was a great experience.
Okay.
And okay, so now after that, I went to Nazca to see the Nazca line. And German archaeologists researched the lines. After she retired, her relative was taking care of this place. Because I work in Germany, we became good friends. And when I told her I could not stay on the beach in Chiruka, she made a UFO tour with her friend. It it was a remote, high desert. And we arrived about 11 o'clock, and we lay down, and I never seen so many falling stars. I thought it was worse just see this, but after midnight, huge light from above to carried to the bottom. And we all jumped up. Then light disappeared. Then again appeared at another side. Then same thing happened, and they repeated the different side 4 times. We felt we were surrounded by the light. Meantime, no one talked a word, said a word, but the last light disappeared. We all looked at each other and they ran to the car, but the car did not start. 2 men tried to fix about 30 minutes, complete silence. So we decided to sleep in there. But soon we decided to walk to the highway 30 minutes. I did not mind to sleep there because it was a wonderful warm night, but they thought we are watched. Now, of course, I'm sure areas are watching us, but they should be a good one because they had enough time, but they did not do anything. They did not harm us, and they just let us know their existence. They are here. So, but we decided to walk, but no cars at this time and in that area. Finally, 4 o'clock in the morning, patrol car found us and took us to the town. And next day, car started right away. And the policeman said, when a UFO comes, sometimes the car didn't start. So that's what happened. And then after that, I went to Machu Picchu. And then I arrived to Cusco, high altitude city. There I got real sick. And I was carried to, I don't know why, but I got sick and I carried to the hospital. And I got intense care. And no one speaks English there. So I don't know what happened, and I could not explain. And I started to lose my consciousness, and I thought I may die in there. But 2 weeks later, I was released. And I brought the translator, and she told me my blood pressure did not go up. And if I did not wake up, I died. So they really worried about me. And I was not ready to leave the hospital, but high altitude place is difficult to breathe. So they sent me to the Aguas Calientes, which is a hot spring, was next to the behind of the Machu Picchu. So I started to recover, but I was not allowed to travel any other place but Aguas Calientes. And I stayed there about 2-3 months. One day, I saw tiny, small white light near the river. I thought they are fireflies. Next day, with local people, I saw again, same thing. And he said, those are not fireflies. And he went close, then disappeared. And a few days later, I saw thin light crossing each other. So I was wondering what those are. And all of a sudden, they all dashed to me and hit my chest. I did not feel anything, but I felt like I was attacked by the light. Then the light went back and disappeared like this. Now I was here and came from here to here and went back and disappeared. Then after that, then now I knew what those lights were. Those are the small discs came down from the UFOs. Because the discs also have a light in nighttime. So the same light is their velocity because there is no object moved that fast on the Earth. So that's creating the same light. So after that, I went to so I flew to, I was in the airport in Cusco, the high mountain city. We are waiting, the people, about 20 people are waiting the plane outside. Someone yelled at UFO. Then we saw the silver white light zigzag, and in 1 second it's gone. So everybody saw it. It was, even though daytime we could see clearly, that's because the silver light was so strong. People say Peru is a country of UFOs. I think so. And this time I had all my sightings, I had witnesses. So I'm glad I had. After that, I went back to Nice. There I became a painter without any prior interest or training. That happened September 1st, 2001, 10 days before the New York terrorist attack. When I was trying to fix the spot on my wall with white paint, all of a sudden my hand started to move by itself and I wanted to paint something. I was startled. Then right away I got the artistic painting material and started to paint non-stop. Then 10 days later, New York terrorist attack happened. My apartment is 10 minutes from there. So, but I couldn't do anything because I was in here. So then kept painting. 3 months later, my painting started to sell in Nice. I became a professional painter in Nice because alien led me to live in Nice. That's what happened. After I went to New York, it was all my cruise ship work were canceled because, the terrorist attack, cruise ship canceled. So then that's the time I went to Florida. I bought a condominium in north of Miami. And there I started to do my art exhibitions. And this is one of the advertisement, Miami Herald wrote this article because I did by myself 100 paintings displayed, because normally this is a big city operated art gallery. Normally 5 people goes, but because I have many different styles, no one thought one person painted all. So my exhibition became one woman show. Then I also did my musical show. That's why Miami Herald wrote this article. So that's the way I became to. Then it was wonderful until Hurricane Wilma hit South Florida. I bought my condominium 4 years later, all destroyed. So, and all that, that happened right after Wilma, Katrina. Next year, Wilma hit South Florida, and everything was destroyed. So my booking was 2 years ahead. Everything was canceled. So I could not stay the place. I don't have a job. So I decided to sell my condominium, and no one saw that we could sell because everything destroyed. But I reduced greatly in my price. Then 3 weeks later was sold. And I had to move out to empty the place and move out. Then I thought maybe I should try, because that's the day I don't want to live anymore in America. So because too many, too much unexpected things happened, and I had to start all, too much expense. So I thought I'm gonna live permanently in France. So I thought I'm gonna get the French citizenship and to end the American life. But I need time to prepare those things. And in the meantime, New York, I did not have a time. I did not have a job, and because everything canceled in there, and Florida doesn't. So I came to Los Angeles. Then 2 years, I worked and I looked for the condominium, but it was too expensive. So I thought I'm gonna go back now and I could become citizen. So I thought I'm gonna leave. Then this happened. Redondo Beach, about 10 minutes south of Los Angeles. After my work midnight, I was thinking to end my life in America. Then a few days later, I performed my show, musical show for the Hollywood movie people. And they interested about my story, not alien, because they don't know, I don't talk that kind of things in my show, my work. And they interested being an Asian woman, travel as a single Asian woman, travel all over the world, and they became a headliner on cruise ships by Liberace. So they want me to write those stories. So because they wanted to make a movie about me. So I was excited. So many bad things happened. After so many bad things happened, so I was excited. I started to write. But 6 months later, I changed my subject. Many, many years ago, when I was a child, alien told me, someday I tell my story, not from Earth, beyond the Earth. They did not direct me to write entertainment life on Earth. So I was told to tell otherworldly experience. That was my mission, they told me when I was a child. So I changed my story. Then I published my book, One Life, Many Worlds, My Journeys Through the Heavens and the Hells of Extraterrestrial Worlds. It was a great challenge because writing is not my interest or passion. And took me about 10 years. I could not work much. And I spent every day 10 hours at writing and hired the editor, costing me a lot of money, but something I needed to do because I was told them to do. Right after I published Scientist and the UFO researcher, virtuoso, read my book, and this is ABC News, and he contacted me. He was fascinated about my book, and he told me to use his name to promote my book. And this is Mary Rodwell, famous ufologist. She was fascinated also, and she wrote my article to the UFO Truth magazine, 4 pages for twice a year. That's the reason many people started to know about my book, and the MUFON contacted me, and this is my MUFON, the Los Angeles MUFON lecture, and this is a UFO. So then I also had near-death experience. So this is UFO.com, and I had many near-death experience. So I became also near-death study.
The saucer UFOs, they were. Can you gauge a bit how big they were? Because according to your images, they were quite big.
Yes, actually. So okay, now first this one.
Can you bring it up a bit?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Something like this,
Mm-hmm.
And this was like this big, and
okay.
And so this was in a far away in the sky, but full moon looks like this.
Okay.
Be quite big.
Yeah.
This is the one actually I read to. So now I'm going to talk after that. But yes, they do have. So this is also this size.
Mhm.
But I think they have many different, I knew they have many different sides. And the small discs came down from the vehicle. Well, they also have tiny discs for other reasons. I think their purpose, they use many different vehicles, because when they came to the crash in here, and they became a double big, right? So I don't know what kind of technology, but some way they do have different sides. And when they go across the universe, I think they have a much bigger one.
Yeah.
Something like this, that I think.
When they would speak to you, did you, was it a male voice or a female voice or?
Male voice.
Okay.
Male voice. And okay. And now I'm going to talk then the childhood, so now you understand more. Okay, this is the place I had a UFO, the alien encounter. So this is me, and this is the forest. This forest was called Forbidden Forest. No one said why, but we are not allowed to come near this. So there is a river in here. I was in here. First day I was taken was I was in here. Okay, so that's the time I see the same thing, this kind of thing, small discs. So when I was catching them, I was lifted up and I went to skyward, and I lost my consciousness. When I woke up, I was in their room and I was here. And I saw the circular windows and many machines. Then I saw the beings. In the distance, I thought they were human. But one of them came near me. And then I thought they are more robotic or more hybrid, something between. And right away, I know they have nothing to do with Japanese, and they are not, So then they talk, but they talked to me in Japanese. He said, "We have known you for a long time. We came from far away to Earth to help you and guide you." And that time, I thought my mother was involved with this because I was born with a lot of medical problem. I had heart problem, so my activity was very restricted. So, but those days, the medical treatment in Japan was no good. So my mother was praying for God, my healings. So that's why I thought God heard her prayer and sent these beings to me. That was my thought. And after that, I remembered my past life, living non-human being in somewhere in the universe. It was a beautiful place. And I knew they came to bring me back to their world. Right after I started to see those visions in front of me. So after that, my life was never the same because I knew I was non-human, used to. The next encounter happened in that forbidden forest. I was playing in the garden. Then when 1 second I was inside of the forest, I did not know what had happened to me. And I startled, but I had to get out. If this was the forbidden forest, I was in a big trouble. So I'm trying to get out with crying and running, trying to find a way, but it was so dark inside. Then someone standing there. So that he was the alien who talked to me. And when we came to near him, when I came to near him, I saw behind him, there is an open area, there was no trees. The open area is a big area. So then I thought, this is the place the alien lived. No, I have no way knowing, because even though now I can see the view, which I saw, because no way knowing something like this exists inside of the forest. But because I knew I saw it, then when I was facing with the aliens, again, I saw my past life with other beings together. And that confirmed he came to bring me back to their world. Then maybe next year, again, I woke up in their vehicle, inside of the vehicle. It was brightly red. The room was brightly red by the artificial light. It was too bright for my eyes. So I went to one of the windows, then looked outside. It was jet black. I did not see stars, moon, nothing. Then a few seconds later, I saw tremendous light. Then zoomed to the city. I could see the city view from above. It was a golden shining world. After that, I don't know what happened. When I noticed I was on their world, golden shining world. The world is made by light. Everything shining and like more covered by gold. And that could be not the third dimensional world, because seemed like a building was above and moving, or so something like this. And I saw the vehicle hovering, and that's me. Then I saw the circular windows. Inside of their room, I saw the circular windows. Now I realize they took me to this world. Then I saw amazing, beautiful nature. The color was something that not exist in this world. Everything made by light and had that depth. I stared and I felt the healing power. And I did not want to forget what I saw. I wanted to become a painter. This was the seed to become a painter. Then the seed was blossomed in Nice, where is Picasso, Chagall, Matisse lived, the artistic place. But after that, I met the angelic beings. You can see the angels in there. You cannot see, but those angels, I saw those angels. Those are my paintings. The original is there. So, but something like I'm an angel painter because I saw them and I wanted to paint. One angel, male, he talked to me. We are high spiritual beings abiding in different realms, and we can see the past and the future. And spiritual level determined next life. And we are contacting to human and other. There are many beings exist in the universe. We are contacting human and many other beings to try to bring up to the higher stage of life. And he said, your life was difficult, but we help you. Your life was designed by us. Someday you must tell to the world what happened outside of the earth. That is your mission. That's the way he told me. I can never forget that day. My destiny was set. I never married actually, because since then, that day, I knew that human activity was not my destiny. I needed to be connected with them and do their work. I was sent to do their work. So to exceed human realm was my purpose of life. If I involved with, I married and had a family, then my attachment go to my family. So my purpose was exceed human level. So that means if I made another human being, that not make sense. So that's why my destiny was live single life and connect with them, do their work. So that I realized when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old, was firmly set. The next encounter, that day when I was 10 years old, I got tuberculosis and I was separated and I needed to have a heart surgery and I could not go to school. It was humid, hot day. Suddenly, I felt very comfortable air and amazing aroma. I felt the skin was so different and I thought I died and carried to the heaven. Then I saw angels. Then one angel flew into me and had a violin. Violin was one thing I hated. I just cannot do hated to do the practice. I quit long time ago. Then I saw the angel started to play violin. Then I thought maybe I would not died because I cannot be tortured in the heaven, because so, but he started to play his violin and he was in the air, flying, dancing, and played violin like this. And I was listening and I couldn't believe he was wearing a golden shining gown and sparkled in the air. And it was a fantastic show. The violin to me was violin classical concert, which I was never interested. But what I saw was an entertainment show. So then after that, he played very sentimental music in front of me and touched my heart. And he said, you will be a violinist and travel all over the world. You must, these techniques will help you. You must practice violin. That day, I went back to practice because angel told me, not my parents or teacher. Angel told me, and I would be a performer because I wanted to travel all over the world. So that's one day my musical career was set. When I came back to Earth, miracle happened. all my sickness was cured 100%. I did not have any more scary surgery, and I became the healthiest person I knew. And I traveled all my life all over the world. So this is what happened. So do you have a question?
Yeah, it's beautiful, really. You know, I'm really touched to hear all these stories. Did you, coming back to when you were a child on the UFO, could you give details about the faces of the beings you saw, what they were wearing?
Yeah, they wore silver metallic outfit and clothes fitted to the body tightly. And it seems like those material covered the head because I did not see any hair, and it's covered like this. But they are tall, like I cannot say now, but for sure, but 6-7 feet, like very tall, and their shoulder was big and stubby, yeah, the firmly built and slender.
Did they have big eyes or more human?
No, more humanoid, more human. That's why in the distance I thought they are human. If I saw small, strange eyes beings, I would have been frightened. But I did not feel because I knew they are good beings and try to come to help me, and they look like more human, but more robotic.
Okay.
But they took me to another world. But in another world, I saw angelic. Those are spiritual beings. But the area I met was, the material.
Okay.
Because we faced each.
Did the beings were, I think they were more Caucasian, I heard from you?
Yes, more. I did not feel Japanese at all. Maybe much taller, and the face structure, body structure is more similar to the Caucasian rather than Asian. That's the impression I got.
Okay. And the angels, were they like very, very tall?
Yeah, the angels are tall and wearing beautiful gowns. Even though the male angel, his golden gown with the sparkle in there. So that's why I made this my image wearing Japanese kimono with golden kimono, and made my image because I made his image to adapt because my show was called Dancing Violin. This is Dancing Violin. And because he said this technique will help you because not many violinists dance together while they are playing. Because of this unique technique I learned, I got so much work.
You wanted me to share a video of you dancing
Yes,
and playing the violin. Could you explain to us what the video is about?
there is a 2 video in my website. One is for the cabaret show, which I was doing, and then that was a promo video for the agents. And so that day, and I was working in Europe, so they need my video, so I was sending that. Then that one is a cabaret show. Then another one is that was a Time Warner cable channel. They had used it, and they played, because they wanted to make something, the story of an alien with music. So I made for this, and they played a few times. But now Time Warner is gone, so now it's Spectrum. But those days there was a Time Warner show. So I was broadcasted. So it's a long time ago, just Time Warner helped me to make that video.
Okay.
And that's a story, was explained by, with the music and, that more entertainment way, but tells something, my story.
It has been said that the facts often distort the truth, and the truth can, at times, be stranger than fiction. Such is my story. It is less a biography, so much as a journey of faith and spirituality, an odyssey that asks one to suspend their disbelief and accept at face value that what I am saying is an actual recounting of my life. Some may dismiss it as a dream, others as the ranting of a crazed woman. I don't care. It happened. I am a professional violinist. The violin was taught to me by an alien when I was 9 years old. One special technique was, what I called anyway, the flying technique. From Chapter 11. As he played, I noticed a floating or flying style. I laughed. I never saw such a thing. I thought, this must be the performance of angels. I thought the music made him so happy that he levitated and danced with the rhythm. I loved it. My belief that the violin solely played boring music was wiped clear. It was fascinating. He played with joyous abandonment, unencumbered by the formality of the classical instrument. His gown sparkled and fluttered when he danced, an array of shooting stars, like a display of fireworks on the 4th of July, like the night sky set into motion. This was entertainment. In that moment, an idea came to me for a future performance. It became a seed, but remained for a long time inside of me. From Chapter 11. While I was doing my show on the cruise ships, the flying technique that had been concealed inside of me all these years suddenly materialized. I felt raised up, lifted by the wings of doves, and I started to dance while I was playing. This is not a common thing for a violinist to do, yet it seemed so natural to dance as I was shown. To change to rosy pink. It was a picture-perfect evening, something you only read about in romance novels. Chapter 11. In that moment, I heard music playing. A violin. My heart skipped a beat. That nostalgic sound stole all my attention. What I heard was the music I'd forgotten for so many years. Music from some far-off place, yet playing here, now. Something deep inside of my heart had awakened. I needed to know the origin of this mellifluous sound, to understand what I had forgotten for so many years. He played with extreme sentimental feelings that I identified as human feelings. I wondered, how can he play with human emotion, yet not be human? The music I was listening to was a different kind of music, one that I never heard before. It was sentimental and sweet. also passionate. Somehow, I felt this was not altogether unfamiliar. Strange, but I knew it from somewhere. The violin and hymn merged together. I felt an electric current run through my body. This incredible heart-shaking sound infiltrated my soul. From chapter 31. Their presence had such an impact. Their influence was so strong, I could not imagine life without them. I think of the one alien, my tutor, and how he took me under his wing, how much I longed for him, missed him terribly so. It was only now that I realized I'd fallen in love with him. As strange or perverse as it may sound, I did genuinely love him, as much as I could love any human. From chapter 1. My life was filled with all kinds of strange events since the first alien appearance in Japan. I was only 8 years old then. For the next 4 years, they would periodically return. But after they left me, various small miracles, which cannot be explained, began to happen in my life. From chapter 21. I know they are still watching me. I see them from time to time as I travel the world. Some nights, I look to the sky and wonder if ever I will know their company again, talk to them, learn from them. Sometimes, I think, if I had not seen all the wonder they showed me, what kind of life would I have lived? What philosophical or religious beliefs would I have? What kind of person would I be?
When you were talking about the fact that you felt that you didn't need children, I also eventually was in a relationship where my girlfriend wanted kids, but a voice inside of me said, don't, if you become a father, you won't be able to do what you're meant to do. And the girlfriend after that I met was a British abductee, which put me on the path that I am right now, because I didn't know anything about ETs until she spoke about her experiences. Yeah. And then I started making connections with my own life. Then we had UFOs fly over our house, shadow people and whatnot happened to us in my house. So I guess they do have a way to put us on a path that we're really meant, because if it weren't for her, I guess she was put into my way to put me back on track, because I wasn't really being like a good human at the time, very ego driven. And but now I'm more of a spiritual person that I was really back then. But So,
Yeah. Yeah, so extraterrestrial other beings will change our path and they are directing us to higher stage of life. That is I needed to, because many people think, human is the only one, so then this was the life, that's not. This was a kind of training period time for the awakening our soul and to go to, graduate to the next level. So we must become aware. First, we must open our eyes to the universe. So I think that is the beginning, the start to understand, what human life all about. And also I need to mention another, because my book says my journeys through the heavens and the hells of extraterrestrial worlds. Now I talked about the heavens. I experienced this, but I had a terrible hell experience as well. That started when I was 16 years old. And I was taken again because the universe consists of plus and minus, positive and negative. One side is not everything. When we try to understand the universe, and we need to see the both sides. And so after, when I was a child, they showed me the heavens. There's many heavens, but they showed me some heavens. But now, 16 years old, I was taken to the hell, which is a horrendous place, fiery hell, torture, just incredible. I could not take, I don't know what to think, but I have no person to share with. Because if I said, I already talked about the alien encounter and heavens, no one believed. Now I talk about hell, no one could believe, but finally I could not take anymore because I'm an extroverted person. I could not keep everything inside, especially bad thing. I go crazy. So finally I told my parents what I was experiencing. And they took me to the mental hospital. And that's the place I got a tranquilizer because they tested everything. No, none of them find anything wrong with me. They thought maybe I should calm down. So they gave me the tranquilizer. So beginning I took it, but I knew I was not sick. So I corrected. And one day I took 40 pills. And then I went through terrible experience and I end up to the one kind of hell. So that was, I experienced before fiery hell. So many beings were tortured. But the place I went was no one there, desolated, cold place. That's the place I went. I cried out for God to help me, but nothing happened. Then I thought, maybe aliens come to see, to take me away from this place, because he said he came from far away to earth to help me. So that he said, and alien told me, angelic beings also told me they are watching me. If they are truly watching me, they should know where I was. So I called them and appeared. And he gave me a lecture and he told me to go back. I came back. When I woke up, and the doctor was there, and I felt good. I felt freshened. It was impossible. I could have been dead or at least living a vegetable, taking that amount of pills. And they checked everything. They could not find any problem in my body. Next day, I went to school and it was the last final exam. I was not qualified to take a test because I did not go to school for 1 year. I didn't even open my textbook, the textbook. But I asked, just let me take. I was almost number one. Even though I studied every single day, I could never achieve that point. That's another proof of extraterrestrials. The supernatural power worked, everything can happen. And I entered university exam number one. I graduated the university number one with German philosophy, which is very heavy mental work I did. So this was a miracle that happened. So I experienced both of them. So that I'm telling to people, do not commit suicide. That's one message, because they do not go to the good place, because taking our life is taking another people's life. It's the same thing as God eyes, killing their life. So should not do it. So, that's one of my, through experience. I'm not telling, they go same place where I went, but killing ourselves or other people, same, killing the life. So that's one thing I got to tell people. Yes, I had a truly unexplainable thing, but those things are happening in the universe. There is an unconceivable power in there. We just connect and open up our eyes, and we could get the help from them. So that completely changes our life. I could have died so many times. I had more than 10 near-death experiences, each time involved with them, and I'm ready to tell the story.
Okay, well, that's an amazing story. Do you we've been at this for almost 2 hours. Do you have a closing statement to say to everyone?
Yes, as we talked, definitely we are not the only intelligent beings on this in the universe. So first, we should not caught up too much to this world and open our eyes, and how we live in this life determines the next life. So to work spiritual, because the angel told me, all depends on the spiritual level, determines the next life. So they said they are contacting humans and other beings, try to bring up them to the higher level of existence.
Yeah, the importance of becoming spiritual, eventually, especially now, with things going so badly. I think that the more we become spiritual, the less fearful we become, and the less controlled we do become eventually.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you
for inviting me. I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
I love your story, sweetie, and it's amazing. It really gives me hope for the future that people will eventually have more contact and become more of a better person, and the more you become better to yourself, you become better to everyone, and that does give a sort of snowball effect, and will at least help raise the planet's vibration too. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And to those watching today's episode, hope you enjoyed it. I'm Mr. Great, and I'll see you guys next time. So take care, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Great, and thanks for watching today's episode. If you are an abductee, contactee, or experiencer, and you believe that your story could help others, please feel free to contact me through my YouTube channel email. When it comes to experiencers, the ET phenomena, and the future, remember, truth will out.